What's going on? Welcome into My Take Is. Thank you for clicking on the video. Do me a favor and click subscribe as well. Rams Seahawks. This game's big because whoever wins this game, I think, goes on to win the Super Bowl. Whoever wins this game, I think, will definitely be favored in the Super Bowl, and I cannot wait to watch this game. Their two regular season meetings were cinema. The Seahawks turned the football over 4 times and still had a chance to win that first game in LA, but Myers misses a 61-yard field goal. Side note, how far does the field goal have to be to win the game for them to miss and you not be upset? I would argue that 61 yards definitely falls in that category. Then later in the year, they play again, and the Rams are up 30-14. And I am not excited to make a video on the game later in the day because puffed my chest out a little bit because I really like Seattle in that game. So the Rams are up 30-14 with 13 and a half minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And the Seahawks come back and win that game 38-37. In overtime, the Seahawks go for 2 after scoring a touchdown on their only drive in overtime. Both games were incredible to watch. And I think this game is going to live up to those high expectations that those first 2 games have set for this rubber match. I'm taking Seattle. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. It would feel wrong to come off of them now. And then you throw in the fact that they're playing at an incredibly high level right now. They blew out the 49ers in their first playoff game. And on the other side, the Rams have looked less than impressive against Carolina and then against Chicago. Now they're going on the road for the 3rd week in a row to play against a very well-rested Seattle team. I think the only way that the Rams win this game is if the Seahawks beat themselves, which is very possible because we saw that happen earlier in the year in their first meeting where Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions. And I say that because the Seahawks just don't have a weakness. They do everything well, but they do one thing significantly better than the Rams. And that one thing is every aspect of special teams. And I think that is going to be the slight difference that wins the Seahawks this game. I don't think that the special teams play that separates these teams is going to be as dramatic as as Raheed Shaheed returning the opening kickoff for a touchdown like he did against the Niners last week. I think it's going to be more subtle. Maybe there's one big punt return in there or something like that. But I think that we see Seattle consistently have better field position than LA. And that's what the difference is going to be. Like the Seahawks' average starting field position is going to be like at their own 40, and the Rams' average starting field position is going to be at their own 30. And that'll be the difference that leads to Seattle winning the game by a field goal. Now, as someone who is picking the Seahawks to win this game, it would be incredibly naive of me to ignore what happened the last time that these two teams play. If you don't remember, Matthew Stafford tore that Seattle defense up. Threw for 450 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, averaged over 9 yards per attempt. Just an incredible game from one of the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen play football. A guy who is a sure, without a doubt, Hall of Famer. Puka Nacua had over 200 receiving yards in that game. Devontae Adams didn't even play. The Seahawks are obviously going to have to make some tweaks on the back end of their defense to keep that from happening again, because the idea of them erasing a 16-point lead against the Rams for a second time this year isn't going to happen. And if you let Matthew Stafford throw for 450 again, you're probably going to find yourself down by multiple scores. And this is where Mike Macdonald comes into play. I've called him the defensive version of Sean McVay. Like, have you ever seen a defensive-minded coach dominate Kyle Shanahan the way that Mike Macdonald's defense has this year, and they had a pretty decent amount of success against them last year as well? Mike Macdonald is supposed to be a defensive genius. That has to be on display Sunday against the Rams in order for the Seahawks to pull this off. And that is ultimately what I am betting on. I think that the Seahawks defense is going to make some adjustments, and the Rams special teams is going to have a blunder or two that cost them. Meanwhile, the Seattle Seahawks offense just continues to do what it's done all year, and that's just be uber efficient. I know people don't like Sam Darnold, and he has a troubled past, but they don't need him to be great. They were 3rd in the NFL in points per game this year because he played well and because they can run the football. Not having Charbonnet in this game is a big blow for Seattle. But Kenneth Walker is more than capable of carrying the load for this Seattle team. Throwing the football, Jackson Smith-Njigba, he's going to have a good day. Because this Rams secondary, it's not elite. They've got some good players. But I don't expect them to completely shut down this Seattle passing attack by playing good coverage. I think the only way that we see Seattle struggle to throw the football is because Sam Darnold himself struggles, which is possible. Again, he threw 4 interceptions in that first meeting against LA earlier in this year. Okay, and I think that if Seattle does lose the game, it'll be because they beat themselves in a version of Sam Darnold having another multiple interception game. With that being said, I think he's going to play really well. I think we see quite a bit of Cooper Kupp in this game. I think A.J. Barner is going to be a really important guy in the red zone for Seattle. And I think Kenneth Walker has a really big game running the football behind this Seattle offensive line. And it looks like Charles Cross is going to play for Seattle, which is really big for them. It's one of the better left tackles in football. For the Rams, I think we're going to see them look how they've looked all playoffs. They're going to appear a little shaky. They're going to put together a couple of really impressive drives, and you're going to be like, yeah, like that is the LA team that I expect, right? But with that being said, they're too talented to not put together a couple of really nice drives every game. I think we're going to see their front seven come up with a couple of big plays, and in those moments, we're going to be like, yeah, like this is the Los Angeles Rams football team that I've been watching all year. But in those moments in between, I think we're going to watch them and feel like something is missing. That's how I felt when I watched them play against the Panthers, who lit them up for 31 points. Watching that defense, it was like, something's just not right here. And that's how I felt watching them play the Bears. Matthew Stafford, outside of a couple of just absurd throws, wasn't good in that game. He completed less than half of his passes. And I was sitting at home watching that game, like, yeah, like this, like the Rams defense looks fine, but like this isn't the Rams offense that I've been watching play football all year. And I think that ultimately we see another incomplete game from the Rams who seem to have faded more and more as the year has gone on. Meanwhile, the Seahawks appear to be playing their best football of the season right now. Could that be a result of them playing a really banged up 49ers team, in back-to-back games essentially? Maybe. That's possible. But I don't think that it is. I think that in all three phases, they're really, really good. I think that, Shaheed has, just a very consistent return game, and that ends up being the difference in this one. Give me Seattle to win 27-24. If you want more from me, I've got a video up right now on the Broncos and Pats game. You can go and check that out, and please make sure that you subscribe as well.